Yeah, that one, that's where it goes over the line for me. Like,
Let me ask you, are you familiar with Glimpse?
I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is.
So Glimpse is an application that allows you to send either to broadcast out to a large group or to individuals your current location. And so it's a glimpse into where I am, and you can put a kind of expiry tag on it. So I'm willing to share with you my current location for the next 15 minutes. And it's real time, right? It's GPS based, and so you can literally watch me moving across the map. We've talked about, the kind of functionality whereby, again, based on location and where I'm supposed to be, the calendar will know that I am going to be 15 minutes late for my meeting. Give me the ability to share a glimpse with the meeting invitee, right?
Yeah.
So you're sitting in the restaurant and you're waiting for me. I have the ability to say to you, Don, I'm going to be, I'm here now, and you can watch me make my way to our location, but it's estimating I'm going to be 10 minutes late.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see that being useful functionality in terms of...
Well, sure, but only to a very select group of people.
Right.
So, whereas with Facebook, you're making new friends and you're pretty open about who you friend.
Mm-hmm.
With Foursquare,
agreed.
No, it's got to be really, really close friends that you know. Right. Otherwise, I don't want them knowing where I am.
Right.
But I'm perfectly happy to go on Twitter and say I'm at the TechCrunch conference, or I'm here, or I'm there. That's fine.
Yep.
Because I'm opting to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to have to remember in Foursquare, that I'm saying I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
Or I guess even with Foursquare, though, you're opting into checking in, right? It's just that I have to remember who's following me on Foursquare. No, that's too close.
So we just implemented a feature, and we don't know how people are going to use it, where you can do a connection with your Foursquare, and Tungle will automatically check you in based on your locations. So I'm really curious to see first how many people are going to enable it.
Yeah.
And second, if people will like it. It took us half a day's of work to integrate, and just want to see how people are going to use that. Because for us, what's interesting for that is that, we're pushing out to Foursquare, the location, and then eventually the idea is to get also Foursquare to push in information into us. Which is possible.
Maybe I'm overly sensitive to
I just don't think
no, maybe you're not.
I
don't use the Foursquare.
Because I know I like Foursquare for... I'm traveling all the time. So the Foursquare will go to Twitter, and I'm on Twitter, and I see some of my friends. They're on the same flight, like Boston and San Francisco. I was like, oh, cool. So I'll go on the plane and find them because some of my friends are on the plane. I think, oh, that's cool.
Right.
Or I'm at a conference and people will say that they're, oh, okay, that's cool. So I kind of like that. And I just haven't gotten into the check-in thing about...
But, sorry, the assisted check-in that we're talking about in Tungle is really targeted towards... I think, first of all, Foursquare users, right, who are avid about checking in. Two reasons. One, they want the world to know exactly where they are and when. And again, a different mindset, right? But they're also playing up, there's the whole loyalty component behind Foursquare also, right, where brands are now starting to reward people, whether it's through mayorship or frequent visits, they're starting to reward you with loyalty points, right? And Foursquare is the way that they're keeping track. So the assisted check-in is really targeted towards the people who are users of Foursquare, but frequently forget to check in, right? Which happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
I'm using the application, but I will frequently forget to check in, and so somebody else will take my mayorship away at Starbucks or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
So it's a little gimmicky, and like Mark is saying, whether or not people will use it, we don't know. But again, it comes back to, here's an application that really does belong in the calendar because it is event-based, right? And it is location-based.
Yeah.
Let me add to that. One of the things that I've done, and it's just kind of testing and playing with things, is I've pulled the Foursquare data string and overlaid it on my Google Calendar, right? So now you've got appointments, but you've also got location and timestamps.
Yeah.
And so you've got a little bit of an interesting visualization there. And so some of the things that we've talked about that kind of dovetail into that is, imagine a situation where you're attending a conference. It's an all-day conference, but you've got some scattered appointments in there. As an example, you've got a 10 o'clock appointment, but you show up at the conference at 10:15. You check in. One of the things that it should offer to do is say, look, you've got these 3 appointments. We know you're running late as a result of the time that you've marked that you showed up at the event. Do you want to reshuffle your calendar? Do you want to notify your contacts? These are some of the things that we're thinking about, at least, rather than, okay, I'm at McDonald's and I want my free coffee, right? So it relates much more to time and location.
So I think if I were a Foursquare user, I would want every check-in I make to automatically get onto my calendar. Because of that analytics, then I can go back and see
Foursquare
where I
has
was.
some really rich metadata as well. I don't know how much you use Foursquare, but you've got location, but then you can start adding tips, right? So I'm at this restaurant, you got to try out the veggie cheeseburger, right? So now you're starting to get some flavor and some color about the individual, and that metadata is really rich as well.
So automatic from Foursquare into the calendar, cool, love it.
Yeah.
Right.
Automatic from my calendar into Foursquare,
Not so cool.
I don't.
Right.
I hear
Not
you.
so cool.
I hear you.
Not so cool with that.
Yeah.
Right.
But automatic the other way, that'd be great. Get the API, pull it in, put it on the calendar. Then it shows up in your analytics about where you were. And I think that's pretty cool.
Right on.
So, this is more for off camera, but
Shut them off.
no, but I mean, we can just not use it. But my point is, if you look at our roadmap, what we're doing, so we've got our thought leadership where, we can be 5 years, 10 years, whatever from now, even a year. There's certain things that we can do sooner than later. But what's important for us in terms of building what we've got is first the aggregation of data to be able to get all these sources, whatever the source may be, where as soon as there's intent, there's location, and there's people, it should be somewhere in your calendar. And then from there, you start being able to give some really interesting analytics to the individual, and we got to be careful in terms of the line here to the enterprise for them to be more intelligent of how they're dealing, because at the end of the day, usually the calendar is imposed by your corporation. You're going to be using Google Calendar.
Right.
You're going to be using, small organizations maybe not, but larger organization it's imposed. So giving the organization tools so that they can also be more intelligent of how people are using their times and analytics. So you've got that layer. Then you've got the extra layer, which is actually our foundation, which is helping people be more productive with their time, easily scheduling their meetings, offering like core application, core services that existing calendars are failing to offer today, mainly because they are not cross-platform, cross-company. It was meant really to work in silos. And that's foundation to our business where, yes, we're aggregating all that, but at the same time, we're helping people be more productive and so on by easily scheduling meetings and so on. That's the hook, the pain point that everybody's feeling today that we're solving. Right. And then when you start adding analytics, people say, wow, I didn't know I could do this even more. And then you can start opening their minds to new things. And then from there, the layer on top is, all these additional stuff that you can do by offering services and other things that you can do from the calendar that should remain in there. But even like, and the bridge to me between the analytics to the services is policies within organizations that restricts people to use certain types of services. If you go to San Francisco, you got to book it in this hotel, these hotels. You got to use this airline and so on. So allowing these corporations to push those services to their employees via the calendar, because that's where they're going to have to do all their scheduling anyways. And then from there to the individual, you can start also proposing other types of services. So you can see kind of the map that we see how we're going to evolve to that. How long is it going to take? We'll see. But I mean, we've got enough in the next 6 months with just the aggregation and the analytics and some really cool tools for the scheduling component, like the location buffering and so on, like allowing some personalization in terms of look and feel, where you work for a certain corporation. When you're sending someone to a page, you don't want necessarily to send them to tungle.me/Don Dodge. You want to send them to Google, schedule.google.com/Don Dodge, and have a bit of Google branding or your own branding or whatever. But so there's a lot of things that we can do just on the scheduling still. There's a lot to do there. So that's going to be our focus for the next 6 to 12 months. Really.
Oh, makes sense.
Yeah.
I think being a thought leader is critically important because people do buy vision. Sure, they look at features and functions, and when they're comparing 3 or 4 companies, and, okay, they're all about the same, but I like this vision. So I'm going to go in this direction because I want to get on this train.
Yeah.
Because I like where it's going. So vision is important, and roadmaps are important. And I think too many companies, startups particularly, focus on features and functions today, and they're not telling their vision for the future, and that's a differentiating factor.
And you like this vision?
I do, yeah. I think it's great.
Cool.
Yeah.
Can you just talk on camera 30 seconds about kind of what you do here and what your role is?
Sure. I'm a developer advocate at Google. So developer advocate means that I advocate for developers, whatever a developer needs to get a job done. If they need additional features, or they need access to beta code, or they need a vision on where things are going, then I advocate for that with the engineering team. So that's one direction. The other direction is more evangelist, where I tell developers about the new things that Google is doing and where we're going and why it's good to get on board with us, and just that sort of thing. So it's a two-way kind of thing with developers.
With that in mind, what are some of the most exciting things that you see happening in the calendaring space, and as much as the development community is concerned? Is there anything that comes to mind, kind of tip of your tongue that?
Well, no. I think the free busy time and scheduling meetings is a pain point, and there are 3 or 4 companies that really jumped on that in the past 3 years. So that's a relatively new phenomenon in the past 3 years. Done a pretty good job of solving that problem, but you guys are really thinking much further ahead than anyone else that I've seen in this space. So I think that's critically important.
Yeah, it's about execution on it.
You schedule your own time?
Yeah.
Single biggest pain point, if you could kind of put your finger on it, about your calendar and the way you interact with your calendar?
Yeah, it's scheduling. Even within the company, it's reasonably good, but once you go outside the company, then it falls apart, and that's why Tungle is really helpful in that space.